Hi, Tina Peters here.
See, today they go after you if you're investigating that sort of thing.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Sheriff Mack sitting in for Tina Peters again, which I hope doesn't happen very often because I'm willing to sit in for her every day. I don't know if I'm available to do it that much, but I'm willing to do that. And folks, I don't get paid for this. I want to help Tina. I want to sit in for her. I shouldn't be sitting in for her because she shouldn't be in prison. This is an injustice. I hope that the DOJ, Pam Bondi, is looking at, so we can get to the bottom of this and see what the intent was of these criminals. The judge, the prosecutor, the AG of the state, the Secretary of State, and many others that conspired together to remove Tina. I'm glad they didn't kill her, but if you can control someone's place in life, take away their liberty, and put them in a box, a steel cage, then what's the difference? They are doing everything they can to destroy her. I've had some attacks, and I thought the FBI was going to arrest me in 1998 when I was running for sheriff, but they raided my office with the IRS, and they put my name on a search warrant that was aimed at a client of mine who was selling securities without a license. I did not know that was the case. I had an office in the same rental area that he worked. My wife and my daughter both were receptionists for him. Neither one were full-time, but they were receptionists for this man. And 3 days before my election for Utah County Sheriff, which it looked like I was going to win, they raided my office. The reason I say it looked like I was going to win because I won the county convention of the Utah County delegates 2-1 over my opponent. And he was the incumbent. So everybody's running scared. What are we going to do to get rid of Sheriff Mack and this Mack guy, this crazy constitutionalist who just beat the Clinton administration 1 year, almost to the day before? So my case at the United States Supreme Court was announced June 27, 1997. My election was to be June 8th, 1998. So basically a year, almost to the day. And here comes the FBI and IRS, raid my office, announce that to the local newspaper, who put the biggest biggest headline I've ever seen. You couldn't get a bigger headline. All across the front of the newspaper, bam, Mack raided by the FBI. I still have that. I should pull that out and find it somewhere, just to show people what a huge headline it was. And of course, I lost all the undecided vote and a few others, and I lost badly. After I lost, I never heard from the IRS or the FBI again. No, I have never been audited. Knock on wood, knock on wood. I've never been audited, and nor will I cooperate with an audit because those are a violation of the Fourth Amendment. Probably a few other amendments as well. But there is no exemption in the Constitution for the IRS. Quite the contrary. The Bill of Rights was written specifically for government to obey. These are the perimeters for government, what they cannot do to us. And so, of course, the judges are going to side with them, saying, of course, they can audit people. Why? Because they're not going to stand in the way of criminals in Washington, D.C. The deep state is going to promote the deep state. So the criminals are going to support each other in their little mafioso organization. And the only competition that our corrupt government has and the deep state has, the only real competition they have is the mafia. So they are one and the same. So, Tina, we're all praying for you. We're all pulling for you. We're so sad to see you in this predicament. Uh, we admire you for your courage. We have compassion for your loss, your son who died in the war. I don't remember which one, but I know you lost a son in the war. I think in the Middle East, and you're a Gold Star mom. You're a classy lady, and it's an honor to be on your show and to represent you today. This is like the third or fourth time I've done it, and I'll be happy to do it again. I can't wait to see you in person outside of your confinement. I can't believe that we have allowed this to happen in our country, but we have. And we, the people, have fallen asleep in more ways than one. And folks, I've said this on every show I've done for her, and I'll say it again. The importance of a constitutional sheriff is very much demonstrated and exemplified in Tina Peters' case. If she had had a constitutional sheriff in Mesa, Colorado, she would not be in prison right now. The investigation would have been conducted fairly and honestly as to what Tina's intent was, and that would have been proven by the sheriff, and this case would have been done. And she would have never been charged. If she had been charged, the sheriff would have been required to put himself in the way, interpose on her behalf, and even testify in court. She did not commit a crime. We conducted our own investigation. For a county clerk to be charged with felonies, multiple felonies, because she secured the vote tabulation in her county, almost who cares if she did? What on earth could that have hurt? That she secured the tabulated votes and ballots in her county. Okay, even if she were wrong and there was nothing wrong with the election and her suspicions were unfounded, where's the crime? And the sheriff could have investigated every bit of that and shown what her suspicions were and verified them or refuted them. Still, there is no crime. And the sheriff did not do his job. And the other corrupt officials there, and I'm not saying the sheriff's corrupt. He might just be totally ignorant of his position or his oath of office and the Constitution. He might be totally ignorant. There's a lot of people who are. I was one of them at one time as a peace officer. Yeah, so I was converted to the Constitution in 1983, and I totally dedicated my life to it ever since. And be that as it may, folks, I want you to know that the constitutional sheriff movement is a solution for everyone across this country, except there are no sheriffs in Alaska, Hawaii, or Connecticut. Alaska and Hawaii never established the office when they came into the Union in 1959. I was in the second grade at that time, and Connecticut voted the office out of its state. So the 8 sheriffs in Connecticut about 30 years ago willingly left, took a state marshal job and left. And so the people were left without a choice as to who their sheriff would be in their state and within their community. So with that said, 10 or 11 years ago, I was asked to be on the Lou Dobbs Show on Fox News and talk about the constitutional sheriff movement and in particular, a gun control law in Vermont that we were opposing back 10 years ago or so. It might have been 11 years ago. And I can't remember. I think I've been on Fox only once since then, and it was relatively soon thereafter. But Fox doesn't want me on Fox News anymore. And Laura Ingram's producer called me about a year ago. Yeah, about a year ago. And they wanted me on. They were going to pick me up at my home, take me over to a studio in Phoenix. And Josh Nelson, who is an internet reporter for Fox, had already done an interview with me that same day. And then he told me that his boss put a kibosh on it and that they did not want me. And Laura Ingram's producer just emailed me back and said they had another issue come up and they weren't going to be interviewing me that day and they would let me know when. I've never heard from them since. So the hierarchy at Fox doesn't want me on anymore. I used to be on quite often, especially with Judge Napolitano on his show back. I think he was on about 10 years on Fox, and then they fired him. He stayed as an analyst. Wow, say that 5 times in a row. Analyst for Fox for some time after that regarding laws and the courts. But he doesn't work for Fox at all. It doesn't appear anymore. So they got rid of that staunch conservative and they got rid of this staunch constitutional conservative as well. So I want you to watch the video. It's only about 5 minutes. I want you to watch the interview with Lou Dobbs and myself and Apollo. Let it run.
A new gun control provision passed last month in Vermont is being met with criticism from law enforcement. Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association President Sheriff Richard Mack calls on Vermont sheriffs to ignore that new gun control legislation and to protect the Second Amendment. Joining me now, Sheriff Richard Mack. Sheriff, good to have you here.
Thanks, Lou. It's really great to be back in New York.
What is the reaction of those you've asked to say, just ignore it, don't enforce it?
Well,
it sounds very Obama-esque, if I may say.
Well, we want the borders protected. They ignore the immigration laws, and they do pick and choose quite often. But we don't want to pick and choose. We want the Constitution enforced by those in local and municipal jurisdictions who swore an oath to do just that. Right. And so this really is a badge versus the badge situation. And I believe that the biggest badge in the county is the county sheriff. The county sheriff is the only elected law enforcement officer in the county. He reports directly to the people. He's not a bureaucrat. Right. He doesn't answer to another bureaucrat. If we're going to take America back, then we must do so one county at a time, sheriff by sheriff.
Your organization has issued a resolution calling on Congress to follow the laws set out in the Constitution. What are you trying to accomplish there?
Well, not just Congress, but it would really be nice to have them on board. But we want every federal official. We want all the FBI agents in this country, EPA, FDA, all of the federal bureaucracies. But yes, they're controlled by Congress, so we need Congress on board too. That we're going to tell them, if you don't enforce the Constitution, we will. Now, remember, this is a peaceful process. We're not trying to fight anybody. We're not trying to cause a civil war or a revolution. We want to...
Oh, that's reassuring.
Well, but the thing of it is, they keep pushing it. I mean, they keep pushing the envelope on this. And right now we have...
When you say they, you're referring
to... The federal government. They have raids going on against honest American citizens all the time. Even the Department of Education raided a man's home in Stockton, California, because his estranged wife, who wasn't even there, his estranged wife hadn't paid her student loan. This is the type of thing that we want to stop.
That'll happen last year.
Well, but also, yes, it did. And how about the IRS? Who's going to protect Americans from the IRS? We believe every sheriff, every cop in this country should be the guards of liberty, just as they promised to do.
Okay, I think that everyone has great confidence and faith in their sheriffs and local law enforcement, and I think more so.
But they don't have that with Washington, D.C.
Well, I understand that, but I also think that we have to acknowledge that that Constitution calls for the supremacy of the federal government when those laws are laid down
pursuant to the Constitution.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Pursuant to the Constitution. And the federal government hasn't followed the Constitution in decades. And what we're saying is, all we're saying in our resolution, our CSPOA resolution, anybody can see it on our website, all we're saying is follow the Bill of Rights. Why not? Why is that so hard for them? Why can't they get that? But they violate it all the time. I mean, the families right now that are being abused in San Diego that the BATF raided, the families that are being abused in Montana right now and in Wyoming, these are things happening all the time. And the IRS abuses, I mean, we all know that they commit crimes all the time. And it's almost routine.
So what is the recourse that you're suggesting?
Well, the recourse is the checks and balances as required within the principles of the 10th Amendment and state sovereignty. Right. Who's going to enforce state sovereignty? The federal government? They're the ones destroying it. We're saying that every governor, every sheriff, every county attorney, every city councilman should be on the side of liberty. And why not? Why shouldn't we be saying, hold it? My Supreme Court case, when I sued the federal government, I sued the Clinton administration when I was sheriff. Right. And 6 other sheriffs were part of this lawsuit from all over the country. We should have had thousands involved in it, but we didn't, you know. People are afraid to get involved. We can't be afraid to get involved anymore. This isn't just a mess anymore, Lou. This is America dying. And we can save her. And we can make it all peaceful if we have sheriffs and local officials that will just tell the federal government, there's a few things you're not going to do here.
And in Vermont, what is the reaction to your call for those sheriffs to uphold the Constitution by ignoring state restrictions on the Second Amendment?
Well, first of all, those laws are...
We're going to have to wrap up here real quickly.
Those laws are complete violation of Vermont law and federal law and the Constitution. Why not do it?
And what has been the reaction of the sheriffs?
We haven't heard too much from the sheriffs there because they don't even think this is going into effect because it violates Vermont law.
Sheriff Richard Mack, good to talk with you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Lou.
You know, I love that interview. Lou Dobbs said a crazy thing at the beginning. He said, did you catch that, folks? Ignoring the gun control statute that they were trying to promulgate in Vermont. Yeah, ignoring it. And he said that was very Obama-esque. I never knew Obama, and I should have answered it that way. Calling Sheriff Mack Obama-esque, that's quite a leap. But at the same time, he was just comparing that he picked and choose, that Obama would pick and choose what laws to enforce and which ones not to. Every president has done that quite a bit, actually. But the thing of it is, a gun control law is not law at all. Anything repugnant to the Constitution is not law and deserves no respect or enforcement. And even Martin Luther King said a similar phrase when he said, we all have a moral and legal responsibility to obey just laws. That means they have to be just. They have to be constitutional. And on the other hand, he said, conversely, we all have a moral responsibility and a lawful responsibility to disobey unjust laws. Can you imagine that we would say, oh no, Martin Luther King was wrong. Oh no, Sheriff Mack is absolutely wrong. We all in law enforcement must enforce unjust laws. That's nonsense. Why do we need you then? Any AI robot can be programmed to enforce every single thing that's written by statute or legislation. But when I took the office of sheriff, I didn't check my mind at the door. I didn't check my brain at the door or my heart. I know the Constitution and I know the supreme law of the land. And Dobbs alluded to the supremacy clause. And then I had to remind him that the supremacy clause is only supreme for the federal government when it's done in pursuance thereof. In other words, pursuant to the Constitution. And I was absolutely correct when I told him the federal government has not followed the Constitution or obeyed the Constitution, especially the Bill of Rights, in decades. And that's still happening today in a lot of ways because there's so many bureaucrats that Trump and Musk have not addressed yet. But this one needs to get out there, folks. And that is defund Planned Parenthood. And I've said this every show. And if I do 5 more of these or 20 more of these, I do interviews all the time, folks. I just did one this morning. I have 2 tomorrow, and I do them all the time. I do about 30 interviews every month. Okay, usually Saturdays and Sundays, not too many, but I'll do them then too. This is what I've been called to do. And I will say on every one of them, the greatest corruption, so evident and obvious in this country, is that politicians, these evil, corrupt politicians in Washington, D.C., steal taxpayer dollars and funnel that money to Planned Parenthood. Is Planned Parenthood a branch of our government? No. Do they provide a government service for which we contract with them? No, they do not provide a government service. They are a ruthless killing machine of unborn babies. How do we know that these babies are actually human and babies? When Mary was pregnant with Jesus, the angel said about Mary that she was great with child. And indeed she was. She had a child in her womb, the Son of Man and the Savior of all mankind. And so I didn't make that up, but I believe it to be true. I hope all of us do. Folks, that we allow this to continue is absolutely beyond me. And then the corruption continues, and these corrupt politicians and Planned Parenthood take this corruption to the 10th power, because then Planned Parenthood, they get donations besides just taxpayer dollars, and their staff is paid immensely, but they take that money and then they funnel it back to the very politicians that funneled it to them for their campaign coffers. And if anybody thinks that that is correct or moral, then you need to have your head examined. I'm sure no one on this channel has a problem with any of this. But folks, we have gone so far down and we have become so debased in our morals, or the lack thereof, that we actually think it's okay to take money from taxpayers and pay for the killing of innocent, unborn children. And sometimes that extends to while they're being born. The term coined by the Clinton administration was partial birth abortion. In other words, it's partially being born, and we kill it. We murder this baby while it's being born. And the former governor of Virginia actually said that if a baby survives an abortion attempt, that they will keep it comfortable while they let it die or cause it to die. Murder. Yeah. While they murder a baby that is alive and born. Yeah. So this is how far we've gone. And maybe we need to blame the Democrats for that. But folks, over the past few decades, since abortion was legal, How many Republicans voted to fund Planned Parenthood? There were some. And over the years, there's been quite a few. Dozens? Yeah, maybe a dozen or more. And I think it was President Trump's first term in the first year where they were trying to vote, where we had control of the Senate and House. And who was the deciding vote? A Republican to not defund Planned Parenthood. So this is how far this has gone. And we, the people, must wake up and take charge of this and be a part of undoing this horrific thing. I pray that President Trump will address this. There's now a bill in the House and in the United States Senate to defund Planned Parenthood. Right now, I don't know if they have enough supporters or co-sponsors, or if they're going to have enough votes, because people like Murkowski and Collins and Mitchell will probably vote to continue to fund Planned Parenthood. Folks, we're not talking about pro-life or pro-choice or pro-death. Pro-choice, what a misnomer, what a lie, what a talking point that is. Because if you choose to participate in the procreation process and somebody in your relationship ends up pregnant, that was your choice. That was the choice of two people. And in a free society, we must be accountable for our choices. And instead of this communistic ideal of, I don't have to care, I don't have to be careful, I can do whatever I want because I can just kill the baby. It's my body. Let's see, when you create another body inside your body, that's not your body. That doesn't belong to you. Go ahead, do whatever you want to with your body, but you do not have moral responsibility or moral prerogative to end the body of another. And that's why in most states, if you murder a pregnant woman, you're charged with 2 murders. And that's still in just about in every state. I think there's been a few of the crazy blue, ridiculous left extremists that maybe have gotten rid of that law. But if they have, it's been within a recent time. So, folks, as you can tell, I have a lot of compassion. I have a lot of passion on this, and I have compassion for the principles of liberty that America was founded upon and the laws of God. That we were here, our entire system was based on protecting life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And liberty and the pursuit of happiness are very much connected, as are all three with the one at the beginning. Folks, if we don't protect life, who are we? What country is this? It's our job. And so I've asked this and I've wondered this before, and I was asked this as sheriff. If you're truly a constitutional sheriff, keeping his oath of office and obeying the Bill of Rights, which was designed specifically to protect life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And folks, you all know what the pursuit of happiness is. You make your choices and you're accountable for it, and you pursue life as you see fit, according to the dictates of your conscience, that can no wise hurt or damage the rights of anyone else. Does that baby in that womb have a right to breathe, have a right to life? And do you have the right to end that anytime you feel like it? You don't. You absolutely do not. And so, folks, this is one of the main issues for me. My passion is for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I hope that I've done everything I can in my life to dedicate it to those principles. Uh, I can honestly say that my wife and I would have never considered doing such a thing. We never even had a miscarriage. We had 5 children. We have 15 grandchildren. And we are celebrating our 50th next month. 50 years. Uh, and I am the luckiest man on the face of the planet. No one is as lucky as I am, because they have not been able to experience this wonderful woman that the Lord blessed me with back in 1975. We met in 1974. So uh, I'm proud. I'm happy. It almost brings a tear to my eyes to go back through the time that she and I spent together, and the ups and the downs and the struggles and the difficulties and the happiness that we have shared together. I want to tell you really quick a story about who really decided for me to sue the federal government. You see, when I found out that the Brady bill was being shoved down our throats as sheriffs in Arizona and all across the country, 3 agents of the BATF appeared at our Sheriff's Association meeting in Phoenix. There's only 15 counties in Arizona, 15. 13 sheriffs were at this meeting. The sheriff from Tucson and the sheriff from Nogales didn't hardly ever come. And as it stands right now, they're not members of the Arizona Sheriff's Association because they're just too different. But Democrats and Republicans are on that committee. And after that meeting with the Sheriff's Association, I was really upset. And I told the other sheriffs that I was not going to comply. But we were threatened with arrest if we didn't comply. So I was very perplexed, saying, how am I going to do this? And what if the federal government wants to make an example of me, like the government did against Tina? And they're going to come and arrest me and haul me off in front of my kids and my wife at 2 or 3 in the morning, and while everybody's screaming and crying and the dog's barking. So after that meeting, I had a 2.5-hour drive home, and I was brooding and brooding about this situation. What am I going to do? When I pulled into my driveway, it hit me like a ton of bricks. There was no question that this is what I was supposed to do. It came to me very, very solidly. You're going to sue your own government. I go, wow. I'm going to sue the Clintons. Yeah, right. Come on. And I was really scared. I could feel my face going flush. And then I relaxed and I said, there is no way that pretty little blonde girl inside that house is going to support this. There's no way she's going to do it. And so I went in the house, and I hadn't been home for a day and a half. And Dawn, that's my wife, Dawn, she came up to hug me, and I didn't hug her. I just blurted it out. I'm going to sue the Clinton administration. They're trying to force me to be part of this gun control scam, this scheme that they're developing, and I'm not going to do it. There's no way. I'm going to have to sue them. And I was saying all that and a lot faster, and she just kind of went, "What are you talking about?" And I slowed down, and I took a couple of minutes and tried to explain it to her. And I was certain she was going to say, "We're not doing this. This is going to cost us everything. We have 5 children. They're all happy. They're in school. They're in sports and other school activities. And this is going to make them a target." And she didn't say any of that. She goes, look, I still don't know what you're talking about, but I know you. And she goes, maybe now we finally know what the miracle was all about when you were elected to be sheriff. Maybe now we know why you were supposed to be sheriff. Well, that really touched my heart, as it does right now, repeating this. And I've told this story to a few people, and they said, man, you ought to make a movie about that whole thing. And I'd really like to. Um, and some producers have talked to me about this, to make a documentary about this whole thing, because there were so many miracles in this, my dear friends. And the greatest miracle that was part of this was the miracle of me meeting my wife, and that we got married, especially when she was so young. Folks, I will tell you this. I should have never married my wife because she was only 16 when we met. And I did not plan that. There is no way that I would ever want one of my daughters to get married so young. My wife was 17 when we got married. She still had a year of high school to finish. But her parents were very, very supportive and very congenial with me as we discussed this, because I said, if I go off to school, somebody else will marry her. And I don't want to do this. I don't want to lose Dawn. I know that she's supposed to be my wife. I don't want to marry her while she's still in school, but I don't see any other way. And so we got married at the end of her junior year in high school. Can you believe that? And it was just, it wasn't my idea. But I knew she was supposed to be my wife. And it worked out. 5 kids, 15 grandkids, and 50 years later, we're celebrating our anniversary next month. So we've already started the celebration somewhat, but we just have to let all of you know that it was meant to be. So don't think that I was weird, or I know I've heard it all my life. I robbed the cradle and all that. Her mom had to sign permission for our uh, marriage certificate, marriage permit, which, folks, have you ever wondered why we do that? We have to get permission from government to get married. Yeah. Well, that's another story for another day, I'm sure. The conspiracies behind all of that. But I did want to talk about my wife today, uh, and our 50 years of marriage. And she's been really something. And the beautiful mother that she was so tender with our 5 children. And I remember when I came home from uh, police duty one day, and I came in the house, and Lucy was about 3 or 4, and I heard her in the kitchen with Lucy, and she said, "Lucy, Daddy's home." And Lucy came running to jump into my arms, and it just really touched me, and it does me now just to talk about that. This is all the dedication of my life is to God, family, and country, and in that order. But all of my family has been part of the movement for liberty that I've been a part of, that I was called to do. And yes, it has been our life, but it never took the place of family. And get this, of all the times that I was asked to go speak somewhere while I was sheriff, and since then, when these were my children were still living at home through a lot of this. And the first big one, I was called by Phil Donahue, producer, back in April of 1994, right after I filed lawsuit. This was 1994, 20 years after I met my wife. And I said, it's my daughter Lucy's turn to go with me on a trip. And I can't afford to pay for her. So I'm telling you right now, I will be there, but Lucy has to have a ticket as well. The producer told me, I doubt very much if we'll do that, but thank you just the same. So in 5 minutes, the producer called me back, and she said, they want you, and we have a ticket for you and Lucy. I said, well, make sure you spell their name right. It's Luci. And the Phil Donahue show purchased a ticket for both my daughter and me to go to the Phil Donahue show. Lucy was only 14, I think, and she was not allowed to be in the audience because she had to be 16 or over, or maybe it was 18, but I thought they said 16. So she waited in the green room for me. And then later she took pictures of us, of the people we were on. Sarah Brady, Sheriff Prince from Montana, and Phil Donahue, and then maybe the lawyers for Handgun Control Incorporated, who were really pushing this gun control law. Sarah Brady was the big push for it, and I did not like her. I did not care for her attitude. She was not friendly ever either with any of it. I tried to be respectful. I hope I was. But when you're that passionate about freedom, it's hard sometimes. But my kids have been all over the country. My trips to Hawaii, where I worked, I did several presentations in Hawaii, even Maui. And I've done one in Alaska. I've been to all 50 states, but Alaska was the last one. I've only done one presentation there. I've done presentations in 48 states, and I've been through or to all 50 states. I've never been to Puerto Rico, but that's not a state, and I hope actually it might become one someday, but I don't think they want to be. They get all the benefits and not have to participate in a lot of political stuff. So anyway, folks, I'm thrilled that next month marks, May 20th, marks 50 years marriage with my beautiful wife. And if any of you have ever seen her, you know she is absolutely beautiful. On my book, there's a family picture on the back on my book called The Proper Role of Law Enforcement. And where do I have one of those? I guess I don't have one here in my box here in front of me. But regardless, folks, I have a family picture on the proper role of law enforcement. Please get that. Make sure that you get the Supreme Court case. And folks, is there a Supreme Court decision that tells the sheriffs of this country what we're supposed to do and that we are? Yeah, there's proper role of law enforcement. What a great book. And the Supreme Court case, get that and this. You can get the whole thing, all of that. 5 or 3 of these, maybe 5 of these, and that book for under $20. And that'll probably pay for shipping as well. So, folks, the proper role of law enforcement is absolutely an astonishing book. It's very short. It's kind of like Thomas Paine, short pamphlet book. It's only 30 pages, but you got to read that book, and you've got to read this. The decision by Justice Scalia in the United States Supreme Court when they said, quoting Federalist 51, quoting the founding fathers in this Supreme Court case, my dear friends, quoting Federalist 51 from the decision written by Justice Scalia. And folks, I have this memorized, and you should too. Hence, a double security arises to the rights of the people. Pause a minute here. How? How, folks? How does a double security rise to the rights of the people? And then he explains it. Because, quoting again, a double security the different governments will control each other. How does a double security arise? When the different governments will control each other at the same time that each will be controlled by itself. Folks, is there any question as to whether or not the federal government will control itself? Only now that Trump is president is that happening. But it's still, you never know when a bureaucrat's going to go crazy, and you never know when Trump's power will be diminished, like in the upcoming midterms. It could be all over right there. We could lose the Senate and the House. And then Trump, very doubtful. I don't believe he's running again in 3 years. But J.D. Vance would be a great president. But are they going to put back Kamala. She's ahead in the Democrat Party right now. What a farce, folks. But regardless, we can never rely on Washington, D.C. to do the right thing, except we've got a little bit of a reprieve on that. I admit it. I'm so glad that President Trump is in. I mean, I'm really glad. I donated to his campaign. I went to a fundraiser in Las Vegas at the Ahern Hotel. So I'm not blowing smoke here. I was behind Trump all the way, and I still am. And I pray that he will hurry and do everything he can to get Planned Parenthood defunded and to get a pardon for Sheriff Scott Jenkins in Virginia. And folks, we still need to get that to anyone and everyone. Call Steve Bannon, call General Flynn, call Mike Lindell, and tell them all, President Trump, please give a pardon to Sheriff Scott Jenkins. Please pardon this man. It's all federal because the stupid FBI thinks that they're in charge of local corruption and they can make that a federal offense if they want to. They have no authority over sheriffs. Let me say that again. The FBI has no authority over sheriffs. Whether they've committed a crime or not, the FBI has no authority over the sheriffs. Hence, once again, folks, hence a double security arises to the rights of the people. The different governments will control each other. That's our job. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And does your sheriff have a responsibility to enforce this decision that was done by sheriffs, for sheriffs, and of sheriffs? And really, who was the benefactor? The American people. And the American people, all of you, will continue to benefit if we have more constitutional sheriffs all across this country. Folks, we've still got a lot of work to do. Your sheriff needs to hear from you. You need to join the CSPOA posse. You need to be a part of the solution. I'm not ordering you to do it. I wish I could order you to do it and you would just do it. But I'm telling you, every American should and needs to be a part of this effective and peaceful solution. Or you can go ahead and believe the Washington Post, the Southern Poverty Law Center, the Anti-Defamation League, the IREHR, the Daily Beast, the Politico, you name it. All the leftist, extremists, communist groups really do not like the CSPOA or me. And this has all been a peaceful and effective process. They always say that we're paramilitary and that we support violence. Where's any of the violence that we've ever supported or caused? None. Zero, folks. Zero. We have prevented violence. And they want all of you to be afraid of us because they want you to believe that we're out there promoting violence. That is a lie. That we are a democracy. That is a lie. And they push both of those big time. If they can push propaganda and lies, they will. And they're proud to do so. If they're pushing lies, what does that make them? A bunch of liars. And they are. So, folks, get this decision. You will be glad you got this decision. And then, as Apollo showed a little while ago, we're promoting my one book. I've written 7. We're promoting this book that I compiled, studying the case for days and days. I put the most important things in this little booklet. There it is. That shows you the size because it shows you in my hand. It shows it in my hand. And the pamphlet, little booklet, The Proper Role of Law Enforcement. What you will be blessed and reading both of these, but especially this book, The Proper Role of Law Enforcement. Yes, I was good looking once a long time ago. Folks, I hate getting old. I don't like how I look on camera now. But look, see, there I am. But I thank the good Lord for the 72 years that I've had. I hope I get another 72. And I hope I get another 50 with my wife. But the thing of it is, that picture that's on the book was when I was a rookie cop, and the proper role of law enforcement, what every cop should know, what every citizen should know, what every cop should believe. You want to read that book. It details my conversion to the Constitution. It talks about the story of Rosa Parks, and it talks about the cruelty of the IRS. And I pose the question, who's going to protect the American people from the cruelty, bullying, and tyranny of our own government? Folks, who's supposed to protect you from injustice? Yes, your county sheriff. Who should have protected Tina Peters from injustice? Her county sheriff. Folks, the more of you that join with us, the more of you that get on board, go to our website, make a donation, make a purchase of these great books, become a member of the CSPOA posse. The more of you that do that, the more sheriffs we're going to get involved in this holy cause of liberty. Folks, we still have a lot of work to do. Let's do it. And folks, I've got a lot of questions about this. I told people that I would answer this question. How about the Article 5 convention? Out of the Constitution, Article 5 talks about how the states can amend the Constitution. Before you join that movement, first read Article 5, not Amendment 5. We're not talking about the Fifth Amendment. There's 7 articles in the Constitution. Article 1 deals with the legislative branch. Article 2 deals with the executive branch. Article 3 deals with the judicial branch. Okay? Article 5 talks about the states having the authority to call a constitutional convention and change the. But you need to read the whole thing because it says upon application. Okay? You don't just get to do it by yourself. It doesn't sound like. But look, regardless, do the states have that power? Yes. Should we do it right now? Why are people pushing it right now? Because they want an balanced budget amendment. They're already supposed to be balancing the budget. Look at the spending that is allowed in Article 1, Section 8. Folks, then they say, oh, well, it can't be a runaway convention. Why can't it? Because they'll make a rule. The rule is they can't. They can change all those rules. And who are going to be the delegates? Mainstream Republicans and mainstream Democrats. You trust them with your Constitution? No. Folks, the CSPOA does not support a constitutional convention at this time. Is it constitutional? Yes. Should we have it? No. Do you have to have one every year? No. We've had maybe one since the Civil War. This has happened very seldom. Maybe we had it pursuant to the Civil War. I don't know. It happens very seldom, and rightfully so, because they can change. They could get rid of the Second Amendment. Do you know who wants a constitutional convention? People who want to get rid of the Second Amendment because they know they can. The people who support it are saying, oh, if we can get new additions and new amendments and changes to the Constitution, then they have to obey it. Then the Congress has to obey the Constitution. They have to obey it right now too, but they don't. And a new Constitution isn't going to make them obey it any more than the old one, than the one that we have right now. The problem is not the Constitution. The problem is corruption. The problem is the ignorant fools in Washington, D.C., who are trying to destroy the Constitution through pragmatism. Let's wake up here, folks. A con, the Constitutional Convention, is not a good idea. The risk far outweighs any benefit we could ever have. Do we need to return to the Constitution? Yes. Enforce what's there. yes, the supreme law of the land, and they still won't enforce it, and they go around it, and they trample it under their feet. And we need to set up a system that will go after the people who do that. My dear friends, thank you for being with us today. Thank you for your support of Tina Peters. Tina, we love you. We know who you are, and we appreciate your spirit and fight. May God bless you. May God bless your family. And we know you've had some losses there. And some of your children have turned their back on you. God bless you, Tina Peters, for what you've done, for who you are, the classy lady that you are. God bless us. God bless our Constitution. And may all of us in government uphold and defend, protect, and preserve that precious document. So long. Thank you. This is Sheriff Mack signing off from the Tina Peters Show. And I'm coming to you from Gilbert, Arizona. So thanks again. We'll see you next time.
Hi, Tina Peters here.
See, today they go after you if you're investigating, that sort of thing.